Chapter 4 of My Life, The Story of a Provincial, by Anton Chekhov, translated by Constance Garnett, 1861 to 1946. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. Chapter 4. One day after dinner, he ran breathless into the lodge and said, "Go along, your sister has come." I went out, and there I found a hired brake from the town standing before the entrance of the great house. My sister had come in it with Anyuta Blagovo and a gentleman in a military tunic. Going up closer, I recognized the latter. It was the brother of Anyuta Blagovo, the army doctor. "We have come to you for a picnic," he said. "Is that all right?" My sister and Anyuta wanted to ask how I was getting on here, but both were silent and simply gazed at me. I was silent too. They saw that I did not like the place, and tears came into my sister's eyes, while Anyuta Blagovo turned crimson. We went into the garden. The doctor walked ahead of us all and said enthusiastically, "What air! Holy Mother, what air!" In appearance he was still a student, and he walked and talked like a student, and the expression of his grey eyes was as keen, honest, and frank as a nice student's. Beside his tall and handsome sister he looked frail and thin, and his beard was thin too, and his voice too was a thin but rather agreeable tenor. He was serving in a regiment somewhere, and had come home to his people for a holiday, and said he was going in the autumn to Petersburg for his examination as a doctor of medicine. He was already a family man, with a wife and 3 children. He had married very young, in his second year at the university, and now people in the town said he was unhappy in his family life and was not living with his wife. "What time is it?" my sister asked uneasily. "We must get back in good time. Papa let me come to see my brother on condition I was back at 6." "Oh, bother your papa!" sighed the doctor. I set the samovar. We put down a carpet before the veranda of the great house and had our tea there, and the doctor knelt down, drank out of his saucer, and declared that he now knew what bliss was. Then Tcheprakov came with the key and opened the glass door, and we all went into the house. There it was half dark and mysterious, and smelt of mushrooms, and our footsteps had a hollow sound as though there were cellars under the floor. The doctor stopped and touched the keys of the piano, and it responded faintly with a husky, quivering, but melodious chord. He tried his voice and sang a song, frowning and tapping impatiently with his foot when some note was mute. My sister did not talk about going home, but walked about the rooms and kept saying, "How happy I am! How happy I am!" There was a note of astonishment in her voice, as though it seemed to her incredible that she too could feel light‐hearted. It was the first time in my life I had seen her so happy. She actually looked prettier. In profile she did not look nice; her nose and mouth seemed to stick out, and had an expression as though she were pouting. But she had beautiful dark eyes, a pale, very delicate complexion, and a touching expression of goodness and melancholy, and when she talked she seemed charming and even beautiful. We both, she and I, took after our mother, were broad-shouldered, strongly built, and capable of endurance, but her pallor was a sign of ill health. She often had a cough, and I sometimes caught in her face that look one sees in people who are seriously ill, but for some reason conceal the fact. There was something naïve and childish in her gaiety now, as though the joy that had been suppressed and smothered in our childhood by harsh education had now suddenly awakened in her soul and found a free outlet. But when evening came on and the horses were brought round, my sister sank into silence and looked thin and shrunken, and she got into the brake as though she were going to the scaffold. When they had all gone and the sound had died away, I remembered that Anyuta Blagovo had not said a word to me all day. "She is a wonderful girl," I thought. "Wonderful girl." St. Peter's fast came, and we had nothing but Lenten dishes every day. I was weighed down by physical depression, due to idleness and my unsettled position, and dissatisfied with myself. Listless and hungry, I lounged about the garden and only waited for a suitable mood to go away. Towards evening one day, when Radish was sitting in the lodge, Dolzhikov, very sunburnt and grey with dust, walked in unexpectedly. He had been spending 3 days on his land, and had come now to Dubetchnya by the steamer, and walked to us from the station. While waiting for the carriage, which was to come for him from the town, he walked round the grounds with his bailiff, giving orders in a loud voice, then sat for a whole hour in our lodge writing letters. While he was there, telegrams came for him, and he himself tapped off the answers. We three stood in silence at attention. "What a muddle!" he said, glancing contemptuously at a record book. "In a fortnight I am transferring the office to the station, and I don't know what I am to do with you, my friends." "I do my best, your honour," said Tcheprakov. "Oh, to be sure, I see how you do your best. The only thing you can do is to take your salary," the engineer went on, looking at me. "You keep relying on patronage to faire la carrière as quickly and as easily as possible. Well, I don't care for patronage. No one took any trouble on my behalf. Before they gave me a railway contract I went about as a mechanic, and worked in Belgium as an oiler. And you, Panteley, what are you doing here?" he asked, turning to Radish. "Drinking with them?" He, for some reason, always called humble people Panteley, and such as me and Tcheprakov he despised, and called them drunkards, beasts, and rabble to their faces. Altogether he was cruel to humble subordinates, and used to fine them and turn them off coldly without explanations. At last the horses came for him. As he said good bye, he promised to turn us all off in a fortnight. He called his bailiff a blockhead, and then, lolling at ease in his carriage, drove back to the town. "Andrey Ivanitch," I said to Radish, "take me on as a workman." "Oh, all right." And we set off together in the direction of the town. When the station and the big house with its buildings were left behind, I asked: "Andrey Ivanitch, why did you come to Dubetchnya this evening?" "In the first place, my fellows are working on the line, and in the second place I came to pay the general's lady my interest. Last year I borrowed 50 roubles from her, and I pay her now a rouble a month interest." The painter stopped and took me by the button. "Misail Alexeyitch, our angel," he went on, "the way I look at it is that if any man, gentle or simple, takes even the smallest interest, he is doing evil. There cannot be truth and justice in such a man." Radish, lean, pale, dreadful looking, shut his eyes, shook his head, and in the tone of a philosopher pronounced: "Lice consume the grass, rust consumes the iron, and lying the soul. Lord, have mercy upon us sinners." End of Chapter 4. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine.